We're live. Oh, it's a good thing you warned me because I thought it said backwards. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Sorry we're a few minutes late.
Sorry, we're like all cuddling this morning.
Water.
I love cuddling sessions at 9 a.m. Yay! We're all trying to wake up still, so I didn't have my go-go juice this morning. This is just water. What a sad, sad day.
Good morning, everybody. I don't see any comments yet, but I do see that people are on. And thank you for the likes. Not even answered any questions yet. I love it. Well, let's talk about last week. We just had our Monday morning meeting. We talked about doing lives every Monday and Friday. And we've also started doing like a group meeting every Monday and Friday for just like 10 to 15 minutes. And basically all that is whatever we've noticed that has been good or bad, needs corrected, needs addressed over the week. We're just taking like notes. At least I am taking notes on my phone and then addressing them on the next meeting. And because Kayla's here by herself most of the time, we don't really get the chance to touch base all that often. So it's been really great to do a Monday and Friday just quick touch base meeting and have also time reserved so that we're not wasting time every single day having meetings, that we can wait to address those at the beginning or the end of the week. So we just had that meeting. We talked about a couple things that we noticed wrong in the photos or in the listings, or just some, I think last time we talked about like just certain keywords, making sure we add those in with certain brands. So that's been good. I've been enjoying having those, and a great way to start in the week. How do you think last week went?
I think we're pretty good. Obviously, we were still trying to catch up from the week before, but we were able to do so. We're already starting to kind of move on towards the end of that batch, which feels good. We did have to go sourcing this weekend. When I say we, I mean Cayley. She took one for the team and went sourcing this weekend. So occasionally, like Cayley mentioned, if we are behind, we do work on the weekend just to kind of get us where we need to be. But hoping we'll hit the bins a couple days this week, and we'll be back to normal and can kind of keep the course going. So
Sourcing this weekend was actually good because I went to a place we stopped going, and the reason we stopped going was because typically when we drive there, it's like a 45-minute to an hour drive, and there are multiple thrift stores in the area. However, there's usually only one that pays off, and so for us it isn't worth it to drive 45 minutes to one Goodwill. But when I went there this weekend, I had to go to this area to do some personal errands, so I decided to stop at the Goodwill that we normally went to. Well, while I was down there, I had to get coffee, so I was looking for some like local coffee shops there. And I went down a different way to stop at the store and this coffee shop. And I noticed that there was a Goodwill that I didn't even know existed there. And it looked brand new. Like, I think it was just built. So now there's two Goodwills in the area that I can now go to source. And it might be worth it to drive to that area now. But it was a good weekend sourcing trip simply for that reason. And I don't know exactly how many items I got, but I want to say about 15, and that was just quick run-ins at each one. And like I said, I was already doing some personal stuff, so I think we're right on track with sourcing. Is that right, Kayla? We've got the right amount of listings in so far.
Yeah.
Okay. Today we're gonna go sourcing, hopefully bring back at least 40 items. I don't think we'll go to the bins today, but
we'll hit the honey hole. It's my favorite place on Mondays.
Yeah. I am shocked that nobody has commented yet. If you guys are on, can someone just say hi so I can make sure that the chat's working? Or if we need to refresh the page or something. just to make sure it's working. Hi!
There we go.
It is working. People just don't have questions. So, I guess we'll go back to how to combat summer slowdown. We talked about a lot of things last week. Just to catch you guys up, summer slowdown, if you didn't catch the last one, is just, good morning everybody. Summer slowdown is a period of a few months during the warmer weathers, typically during summer, that's why they call it summer slowdown, that tends to be really slow for pre-owned clothing resellers. And so, because of that,
because we're drinking coffee.
Yeah, sorry. I'm trying to find like a better time, but just in the middle of the day does not work for us. We might be able to commit to like a 3 to 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, possibly. If a 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 to 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time would work better for you on Mondays and Fridays, drop that in the comments. That would probably be the only other time I feel like we could do it. But going into summer slowdown, we talked last live about how to combat that, and some of the things we mentioned were focusing on more substantial items. We talked about things like dresses, picking up dresses as a more substantial piece, and shoes, going to more stores but less categories, and then just really overall consistent listing, and that's for any time of the year. Some things we haven't gone into yet is with the more substantial pieces like dresses, focusing on even more substantial pieces within those categories. Like when we go to dresses, we're typically looking for midi to maxi length dresses, just think more fabric, more substantial, or a long sleeve or something like that. But typically in the warmer weather, they're going to be short sleeve or sleeveless. But sometimes we'll even walk down the aisle, at least I do, and I just skim the bottom of the aisle to see what's long, and I'll grab it, pull it out, and see what the brand is, and then go from there. But honestly, midi to maxi length, they're very popular lengths right now. I don't see a lot of people wearing short dresses. Do you?
No, I think it's kind of coming back.
Yeah.
The trend of long dresses again.
You know what I think that is? I think it's because athleisure is so popular right now that everybody wants to be comfy. So I feel like a midi to maxi length kind of goes along with that athleisure where it's just effortless and easy. I'm a big fan. So
somebody asked, would you speak to eBay returns? Is there an increase in returns lately? Also, are you concerned about inflation affecting sales?
We talked a little bit about returns. I don't know if it was last live or the live before. How many did we say in a rolling period? Like 10?
Yeah, we typically have about 10 at a time, which seems like a lot, but when you're looking at shipping out like hundreds of items, 10 in comparison isn't a whole lot. There's some times where we get lucky and we only have a couple, but I mean, it is something that happens. Normally for fit. Yeah, normally for fit. And it does seem to kind of come in waves. So if you're noticing it, it seems like a lot lately. Give it a couple weeks, I guarantee it'll drop off. It just kind of seems to be like a wave, like a curve. Sometimes you have a bunch, sometimes you don't.
Well, I was surprised because I looked and we had like only 4 returns in our, I don't know what I would call that, a return bank. And then I looked this morning and it's like 9. So it just, and they're all for fit, and it really depends on what your return policy is. We personally choose to do free to the buyer 30-day returns for most things, and that's because your buyers can force you to do a free return anyway, so you might as well offer that, get the discount for a top rated seller. Was there a specific question about eBay returns, or they just want us to speak to them?
They just wanted if there was an increase lately and if you were concerned about inflation.
I don't think we've necessarily had an increase in returns. It usually stays about the same for us. I had an increase last week, but that isn't any different than most months. And as far as inflation goes, no, I'm not worried about it. As prices increase, we list things for higher, And I think consumers kind of expect that prices are going to go up the same way that we expect that prices are going to go up at thrift stores. Like, we just had 2 price increases within like a month last month.
Yeah.
And
Significant ones.
yeah, we didn't cry about it. We weren't upset. We were like, well, that makes sense. Some of them were pretty significant though.
Yeah, it does change the game a little bit. We had some stuff that went up. It was like over $2 difference, and it was kind of overnight. We didn't expect it to come. And it was one of those things that we'd already kind of gone through part of that section, and I had to reevaluate and say, okay, wait, now I'm paying X amount for these items. Like, is there enough wiggle room return wise, once we sell them to get them? So it does change a little bit of what we pick up per se, as far as what we're selling it for. But everywhere else has to kind of catch up with that price increase too. So kind of keep that in mind, that you might want to compare the sell-through price as well as just the sell-through rate when you're looking at things that cost you a little bit more. But that's the same as anything. So
a lot of people are saying this time is good for them to do a lot.
Oh, good. I was like, what?
Oh, this is a better time. Okay. You know what I like about, well, actually, let me finish the inflation thought real quick before I jump into that, because I'll get scatterbrained and I'll forget. But when it comes to the inflation question, what you don't want to do is hop on social media and complain about it for, let it ruin your whole day, because it's not going to change. You being upset about it's not going to change. Not saying that this person that commented was complaining. I'm just saying in general for everybody. I see a lot of resellers just wasting a lot of time, being upset, taking up brain space over the inflation. If you expect that that's going to happen, kind of the same way you expect summer slowdown, you can combat it more easily and just get through things a lot faster and a lot more painlessly. And like Nikki said, instead of necessarily raising all of our prices, I mean, we do tend to do that, but we just follow comp, so it happens naturally. We might have to adjust and say, okay, we're going to start narrowing down our categories a lot more and focus really hard on the more substantial pieces. Like, for instance, tops, we hardly go to tops anymore in the women's category, and that's because prices have increased and the average selling price has decreased in that category. For the 9 a.m. lives, here's why I like getting on early, because I feel like the people who are going to get on early are early risers and typically have a stronger work ethic because they're getting on early. Not to say anybody that can't watch does not have a strong work ethic, but I personally prefer to be the early bird and get up and get stuff done. I do understand, though, that it is hard for people who have other jobs right now to get on early, so I'm sorry about that. If you're watching this later and you're like, you know what, 3:30 actually would be better, let me know down in the comments based on your schedule, 3:30 Mondays or Fridays, if that would work for you, because maybe one day we could choose to do an afternoon one.
Do one in the morning, maybe Mondays in the morning, and then Fridays in the evening, something like that, or afternoon. That might work too.
I understand that not everybody, not everybody's schedule allows it, but I do like the go-getters who are getting on in the morning. I feel like we're similar-minded.
How long before you drop prices on an item, and how often do you drop them until they sell?
We talked a little bit about that already. I just started doing this. Previously, I just let things sit and they eventually sold. Now we're taking a more proactive approach to that, which is, as Nikki mentioned in the last live, 90 days to sell. So we check comps mostly on eBay, which only shows the last 90 days. So when we're checking a sell-through rate, we're looking at having X amount sold versus X amount available. We want that number to be the same or more. And to us, that means 100% sell-through rate within 90 days. So we're looking at stuff to sell within 90 days because we're only picking up stuff that is at, for the most part, I would say 95% of the time. There are exceptions. 95% of the time, things that are going to sell within 90 days. If they're not selling within 90 days, I just started doing this, but it seems to be pretty effective. We've been selling a lot of older stuff. I go through and I bulk edit anything that is past the 90-day mark, and I drop it by, it's been hit. I've been like experimenting with it, but I think what I'm going to do is drop everything by 10% through the bulk eBay editor, and that honestly only takes like 10 minutes for me to do, and we've got almost 4,000 listings. So it's been really easy, and that would include, you know, let's say this month I drop everything that's older than 90 days, 10%. Then next month, if those same items are still on there, they're getting dropped another 10%. And that's going to be our strategy probably for the rest of the year, just to test that theory out and see how it does. But so far, we have been selling
A lot of older items. Yep.
quite a bit of older items. Yeah.
Okay. Thrift Lift Light said, are you guys still picking up winter wear? Also, are you starting to list more shorts and summer garments now?
We're trying to stay away from picking up the majority of winter items right now. I mean, I think, moral of the story, if it's still comping well, a home run's a home run. That's kind of the way I look at it. But you have to make sure 100% guaranteed that these are home runs. So I wouldn't tell you to like pass over some Balmain or some like $100 cashmere sweaters. Regardless of it being winter, if it still has a good sell-through rate, might be worth picking up still. But you really need to evaluate what the sell-through rate is, first of all, what the comping price is now, and then make sure that you are listing towards, I think, the bottom of that price window, so you're guaranteed to be like one of the first sellers on something. If you're not willing to do those things, then I would say you should probably be leaving them behind.
It's also really hard to, if you're not someone who sells internationally.
Yes.
And if you're selling on eBay, it's really easy to turn on the global shipping program, and it's literally just a couple of clicks and they'll apply it to all of your listings, and it essentially, there's not much different with shipping because it just takes your existing information in your listing and plugs that into an international listing through the global shipping program. So I would definitely, if you have a lot of winter items and you're comfortable with it, I would turn on the global shipping program for eBay. That'll help you sell those items. We do sell internationally. We use both of the eBay global shipping programs. So we do sell stuff every week internationally. And that's actually, just to touch on, they asked if we were listing a lot of shorts already.
We're starting to, not many yet. I mean, we're getting there, but
here's the thing. So this is actually one of our notes in Summer Slowdown, which is in order to combat Summer Slowdown, to start shopping for warm items now and get them listed now.
Yeah.
That way when people start shopping for that,
you've already got them out.
You've already got them out. You're ahead of the game. They're getting sold. We have been selling shorts.
Yes.
But as far as sourcing them, we are trying to source them. But, you know, as we talked about inflation.
Yeah. Well, and you think about what people donate, right? So if you think about, like, for me, I'm like in my spring cleaning mode and I'm going through my house now. And for me, anything that's like long sleeve, like especially for me or my kids, I'm like, well, I'm probably not going to fit in that next year, or they're not going to fit in that next year. That stuff has to go. So a lot of the thrift stores are going to be getting more things that are like winter related versus summer related. People are typically buying those things now, not typically donating them. You're also dealing with the stores that are doing changeovers from winter stuff to summer stuff as well. So we're doing our best to purchase what we can. But it is kind of slim pickings in shorts. We are hitting some home runs on those as well. I'd say we probably are picking up probably like half summer, half winter right now. But again, it's got to be home runs on winter stuff if we're picking it up, or it's just kind of those more bread and butter items right now. As people start donating those or buying things that don't fit and donating them or whatever that looks like, we'll start picking more of them up. We'll have a better opportunity at getting more top dollar, top notch things.
We've definitely been picking up shorts at the bins.
Yes.
Shorts are just like, you know, to me, they're not a very substantial piece. And there aren't very many brands that have a high sell-through rate in shorts, unless it's certain athletic wear brands or very specific denim brands. But most of your shorts that you're going to come across aren't a high sell-through rate item. So we're picking them up at the bins because we don't feel comfortable enough picking them up for full price at a thrift store. And like Nikki said, a lot of the thrift stores don't have very many out yet. Actually, the ones that switched over to the warmer weather items that now have shorts, we noticed they were all the same color. Like it was almost like they were holding back shorts so that they would have enough to put on the rack.
Yep.
Okay, so Make New Meg said, how did you decide to make the next step to scale up your business and hire employees? What do you recommend to someone looking to do so? So I think she kind of touched on that last week.
Yeah, we touched on it last week. So if you want to hear that in more detail, I would go back on our weekly Q&As. I've got a folder for them now, or a playlist for them now. But essentially, it's different for everybody. My suggestion is to exhaust yourself by yourself, get as much done as a sole proprietor without help first. Use every bit of space that you have in your house before expanding to an office space or a warehouse, and then get as much done with the time that you have before you start hiring people. And get your processes, this is the most important thing I think, is get your processes in place, cut as many steps out as possible, and get it the most efficient way that you can before you hire someone. Because when you hire someone, you're going to hire them and teach them the way that you want to do it, and you want to try and limit all the changes that will be made in the future, and you want them to work in an efficient manner, which is something I think that I feel like I hired too soon just in that aspect, because as we mentioned last live, our processes are way different now than when we first started. But I would say really focus on eliminating as many steps in your thing as possible. Get everything written down on like a packet for somebody. Time your processes, make sure that they make sense to you. And then I think if you've done that and you've exhausted everything else and you still feel like you need help, that's when it's time to start looking for help.
How much do you pay someone to take photos? Ooh, where to go? How much do you pay someone to take photos for you per hour?
We also touched on that last week. We touched on a lot of these questions last week, but apparently people have the same questions. So we're not going to share anybody's pay information specifically. That's just not something we're going to do. We also don't really talk about financial things, tax wise. I can give you generalized advice, but what I'll say is that if you're looking at how much you should pay somebody, it varies again on which area you're in. Minimum wage here is what, like $8.50 something? $8.75 here. If you are in somewhere like, you guys can even drop it in the comments how much minimum wage is in your state, but I can guarantee you that it's not $8.75 everywhere. And so for me, I can hire somebody at X amount of dollars and they're probably going to be pretty happy. Let's say I hire somebody at $10 an hour. That's people would be pretty happy with that in this area for an entry level job. Whereas if I paid somebody $10 an hour in California,
they'd be like, where's the rest of my money?
Yeah, they would not go for that. So it really depends on your area. But I would suggest, if it's your first time hiring somebody, that you don't pay them per hour, that you pay them per item. That will encourage them to get stuff done efficiently. And then that way, no matter how long they take, you're getting the same amount of work done before you hire somebody hourly.
And don't be upset about asking. It's not that we mind asking. No. It's just that I think even if we told you what we did pay our photographers now, it's going to be completely different for where you are, and it depends on how many photos you're asking them to do and how long. I mean, how many photos are you asking? What all do you want them photographing? Are they doing measurements? Are they doing weights? I mean, there's a lot of things that go into that. I mean, obviously we have our process for photographing, but it obviously depends how many photos you're doing and how many items each week. And that's kind of why we tell you it's hard to narrow down beyond just the area. But definitely don't feel bad about asking. So
No, we don't mind asking, and I don't mean to come off rude either if we're like, sorry, we're not going to share that information. It's just, I don't want to give somebody advice that's, like I said before, going to ruin their business.
Well,
or
yeah.
on your livelihood. So.
Yeah, like she said, say $10 an hour. We say, okay, yeah, we pay $10 an hour, and then you live in California or somewhere, and you offer that to somebody, and they're like, what? No, I'm not doing that for you. And you're like, oh gosh, they misled me. That's kind of where we're coming from.
I would say, just in a generalization, I would suggest that you offer somebody at least a little bit more than minimum wage, because they can go get a minimum wage job anywhere. I do suggest that. You're going to get more higher quality candidates doing that.
Do you think a mannequin is better than a hanger for clothes? Right now I'm only using hangers, but it seems to look unprofessional.
You want to answer that?
Yeah. So we've thought a lot about the process on like photographing, obviously just like the last year that I've been here, and we've had a lot of kind of looks into the way that we're photographing, and honestly, I think using a mannequin would completely waste your time, in my personal opinion. Just because it's going to slow down your process, it's going to slow down like the photographer, it's going to take you a while to actually have to physically dress the mannequin each time, and I don't think it makes that much of a difference. And then thinking about measurements and stuff too, you're going to have to completely undress that mannequin to take those photos, to make sure that you have those as well. There are things we do use a mannequin for. So like if we have a dress that you really need to see the shape on, things like that, we have like one of the like half-bodied mannequins. I would recommend maybe having one of those on the side that you use for just like very specific things that need the shape, or think about like scarves or things like that you need like a body structure for. But I would say probably 98% of the stuff that we have, we do not photograph on a mannequin, and I think it would be a waste of time to do so.
Kayla, how long, do you notice a significant difference when you have to use the mannequin versus not?
So if I don't use the mannequin, I can get a picture done from start to finish within like a minute. If I have to put it on a mannequin, it adds at least 2 or 3 minutes. Just because I'm dressing them, then I have to pose it correctly, and I have to make sure everything's fitting, or if it ties in the back, I have to tie it. I have to flip it around. It's kind of annoying, and it also messes up the photo editor a little when I go to remove the background. Sometimes it takes away the part of the mannequin, and then it just looks funny.
And you got to think too, when she's taking photographs, we have like 40 hangers. So she is bulk doing processes. She's bulk hanging it up. She's bulk steaming it. Then she's bulk photographing it. We only have one female hanging torso and one male hanging torso. So she can't bulk do anything when it comes to a mannequin. And unless you've just purchased like a million mannequins,
a whole crew of not alive fleet of team members that are not alive, I think that would take a while.
To me, it's like you can't do anything in bulk with a mannequin. By the way, to the person that asked that question, I used to use the hanging mannequin for everything. Does it look better? Yes, I would say having some form of a structure under your garment looks better to the buyer. Is it more efficient? No. And when I moved from a mannequin to hangers, I was terrified. I was like, no one is going to purchase this. It's going to look flat. It's going to look awful. I actually prefer them on hangers now. It gives it kind of a boutique-y feel, which I feel like a lot of your websites are doing that don't use models. They're putting it on a hanger. So I think that's just the way of the future. And I personally feel I was scared just like you to move to hangers, but it has made a tremendous difference as far as getting stuff done.
I would just suggest maybe getting like a nicer looking hanger. Like we use the wooden hangers. I think those give a nicer look.
Link is below.
A velvet hanger or something like that would make it look a lot more professional.
That's a good point.
I am selling on eBay now. I'm going to start cross-listing to Poshmark. Any tips for a new Poshmark seller with 2 years eBay experience?
She said cross-posting?
Yeah.
Are you using List Perfectly?
Use LP.
If you're not already using List Perfectly, the link is down below as well as a coupon code. And I'm saying this because we use it. It'll change your life as far as cross-posting, because it'll move your information over for you, so that'll cut your time in half. As far as just in general cross-posting, if you're going to do it manually or with List Perfectly, either way, if you're coming from eBay over to Poshmark, it's a pretty easy transition because eBay has the most amount of information. So all that information will go over to Poshmark, and then you won't have much to fill out, which will be good for you. Whereas if you're coming from Poshmark over to eBay, which requires more information, you'll have more to fill out. I would say my suggestion is when I first started cross-posting from eBay to Poshmark, I copied and pasted well, I guess they don't have to do that now because there's more characters in the title.
Yeah, they're the same now. eBay and Poshmark are the same.
Yeah, so really, no, I don't have much of a suggestion. I would say if you're cross-posting from eBay to Poshmark, add $5 or $10 to each item, because on Poshmark, you have no choice. Your buyers can send you offers, so we always add $5 to $10 just to account for offers on Poshmark. That way you don't get a little discouraged. Someone said thumbs up. Yes, there's 53 people watching and only 16 likes. Please hit the like button. It only takes a couple seconds, and it's a free way to help our channel. So please take a moment and do that if you haven't already. We really appreciate it.
What is the single most effective thing you did to speed up listing? I list 5 things a day and then cross-post to Poshmark. It takes me an hour when I'm going fast.
For 5 items?
Yeah. I list 5 items a day.
Well, we list a little bit differently because we list on List Perfectly, but if I'm thinking back to like when I listed on each platform, I would say find every way oh my goodness. I would say find every way possible to do things in bulk. So instead of, taking a picture, uploading the picture, doing your listing and hitting list, take all of your pictures, upload all of your pictures at once, then go through and bang out the drafts. Same thing with pricing. Like if you're doing comps, do all your comps first before you go list, or do all your comps last. Do everything possible to do everything in bulk. And if you're already doing that process, then I would just say it is just repetition. Like I learned, this isn't on Poshmark, on eBay, but I learned to use the tab bar a lot. And now it's like second nature to me to type things in and just get really familiar with what all the drop downs are. Just repetition.
Definitely bulk too. Bulk makes a huge difference.
List perfectly. Do I have to cross-post everything I've already got in my store already, or can I just start at ground zero and let the old stuff stay as is?
You could do either.
Are they saying to list on List Perfectly?
It just says about List Perfectly in general. So, can I got this?
Yeah. Do you want to tell them the 2 ways that they can?
Yeah. So if you're already like, say all of your stuff's already on eBay and you want to just use LP to like cross post to other platforms, you can use it as just an extension on just eBay, and it pops up with like a little cross post bubble that you could click and then click which platform you wanted to share it to. That's originally how Cayley used LP or List Perfectly. And so we would do the listing completely on eBay, and then we'd go through, or we had one of our people work with us, go through and cross post all of those over to Poshmark just from eBay. And then it was August, I guess I could tell you exactly when it was August, that we decided we were going to use List Perfectly as the like original listing platform, because we were having some issues with drafts in eBay. If you don't know, they time out after a while. You can only have them in there for like 2 weeks, and then they seem to have issues with photos, and we got tired of having to redo photos or deal with that issue. So long story short, now we list everything on LP and then cross post it to eBay or Poshmark or whatever. We decided when we made that transition, if you're thinking of doing List Perfectly completely, that we would cross post everything from eBay over to List Perfectly, and then we could cross post it from List Perfectly over to Poshmark. But there were also some things that we did leave. I think Cayley mentioned last week that she still has some things on like Grilled and Depop and things like that we didn't end up cross-posting back over to LP. I mean, they were obviously there because of eBay, but we don't have a link stating that they're on Grilled or wherever it is that they are. We just know that they're there, and if they sell, we make sure that we go back and we delete those items. But you could do it either way. You could choose to cross-post everything back over from eBay to LP, so you know that you've got everything over there, or you could just say, okay, everything new I'm listing, I'm gonna list on here, and kind of go through that process. It's totally up to you.
Let's also talk about if you are cross-posting from eBay to List Perfectly, it is not the same thing as cross-posting from platform to platform.
It's so easy.
Yeah, it's like it runs in the background, so it essentially like you just tell it to, and it'll automatically start like essentially importing your listings.
Yep, start and finish.
So I don't know how many you have, but let's say you had 500. That would probably only take you a couple hours, maybe, to let that run in the background and get them over. So we suggest going ahead and taking that step and getting everything in. That way you have a record of what's on what platform through List Perfectly. However, you could do it either way. It's just the only thing is if you don't do it all at once, you're going to have to remember
what you've done,
what date did you start, and you're going to have to somehow figure out which listings are on List Perfectly and which aren't, and you're gonna have to go back and forth. So not necessary, but we suggest doing it.
Yeah, and honestly, you can do so many in bulk. So like we would do an entire eBay page at one time. You could do, I think it's like, I don't know, like 50 or 100 on the page. You could do those all at one time. It's not that you have to do each individual one. You can bulk cross post over. It says it looks like you're talking more about inventory tracking. So inventory wise, like shipping or finding items, typically we just go to eBay to see where those locations are. But there have been times where like we've had a fluke on eBay or that like we've, you know, it's ended or like fallen off the face of the planet. Sometimes when eBay goes through updates, you'll find that like it kicks some of your listings out and now you don't know where they are anymore. We already had our like SKUs saved in eBay, so when we cross posted them over to List Perfectly, they were also on List Perfectly. There is also like an option on List Perfectly where you can mark things as sold on List Perfectly. We don't use it like that. We just use like inventory wise. We go onto LP once we sell something on eBay or Poshmark and we just completely delete it. But there is an option for you to go on and mark things as sold and have it remove them from the other platforms. We just don't do it like that.
I think because I see a couple comments from this person, I think they're mainly asking like, how do I keep track of what platforms on which? When you cross post something onto List Perfectly from eBay, List Perfectly will know that it's on eBay. And then if you cross post from there, it'll know it's on Poshmark and it'll tell you. I would watch some of our old List Perfectly videos so you can kind of see what that looks like on the screen. But as she said, it kind of depends on how you're already tracking. If you've got your information in the SKU already, that SKU will also be on List Perfectly. I hope that makes sense.
Do you list on Facebook Marketplace? I'm having so much trouble listing there.
Ninja Turtles.
So we're gonna have to make this the last question because we're 7 minutes over and we have to go sourcing today. But Facebook Marketplace, I'm kind of wondering if you're talking about cross posting with List Perfectly, but
this is a different person,
right?
Yeah.
But Facebook Marketplace has been having some issues in general, not just with List Perfectly, where if you try to list, like, I don't know, it's just funky. It's not you and it's not List Perfectly, it's Facebook Marketplace. A lot of people have been having issues just plainly listing on there from that platform and also cross-posting onto there. I have done that and I also experienced issues. To be honest with you, if I list on Facebook Marketplace, I just use my phone on my Facebook and I just make a quick listing. I have listed on there, but as far as my pre-owned clothing, no. To me, it's I know a lot of people are having luck over there, but as we mentioned before, we only have so much brain power to put into stuff, so we focus on one platform at a time. And to me, Facebook Marketplace is not something I want to conquer right now, even though I know a lot of people are having great success over there with pre-owned clothing and shipping items out. For me, I only really use it for bulk items that I don't want to ship. So we just sold a Ninja Turtle, a life-size Ninja Turtle, for $100, and I listed that just on Facebook Marketplace. And I'm trying to think of some other things we've sold on there. We've sold some like crate and barrel wicker basket sets. We've sold some mirrors over there, but it's mainly just stuff that we don't want to ship. We don't frequently use it, but I do know that a lot of people are having success over there. But if you are struggling with the listing portion of it, they are having some issues. It's not you.
I'm going to go back a second, even though Cayley said that was the last
Okay.
question, just because I realized we missed one earlier that I think is important to mention. So you're talking about how you've been listing for 5 a day for 3 months and you're selling 2 to 3 items a day, which is good because you're almost selling as many as you're listing. So that's kind of always the goal for expansion, is selling as many items per day as what you're listing.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
that's a good start. But you're saying someone purchased 12 items and 3 weeks later they're returning them for they don't fit or they don't like them. So here's what I will tell you.
Oof.
We kind of talked about this earlier. You talk about fit. Ultimately, you can't make it fit somebody's body. There's nothing you can do about that, unfortunately. However, I will tell you to make sure that you're looking at your listing. So, like, if you're seeing for sure, like, every time you ship something, somebody's shipping back for fit, did you have measurements on all of those? Are you taking enough photos that show the way that they fit? Was your listing showing or describing that it was slim fit or straight legged or whatever the items were? That's a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I know for me, like, I never bought off eBay or like did anything really online until I worked with Cayley. And like, I wouldn't have thought about measuring like armpit to armpit or like how long is my arm. I'd have been like, oh, I wear a size whatever, I'm ordering this size, not realizing that so many brands are different. So you might have people that are running into that same situation, and it might be kind of a bad situation because of that. So I would just recommend making sure that you have photos of, maybe armpit to armpit on shirts, full length of a shirt. I know a lot of times we get questions on like arm length on like men's button-up shirts. Things like that may help deter people because they might say, okay, wait, there's measurements here. I'm going to actually measure to make sure it fits. It's not going to work all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Some people will be like me and say it's a size large and I wear a size large, so this is what I'm ordering. But it should deter from a lot of that as well, or help people really know what they're getting before they get it. And it might help you with your returns. So,
also, just want to say that when you're first starting out, I would say for the first few years, every time you get a return, every time you get negative feedback, every time a buyer is rude to you, it almost feels like a personal attack. Yeah. I felt that way for years. And when I hired Nikki, I told her, I was like, now listen, I was like, things are going to ruin your whole day or even your week if you let it. Like,
oh yeah,
it's just the nature of the business. Like, you have to find a way to, if you get a 12 item return, which by the way, that does suck, but you got to find a way to be okay with it and just have a process in place. If that happens, what do I do? And the answer is you get the return. As soon as you get it, you relist those items, you put them back in inventory, and you move on. So, also finding a way to be okay with it, because like I said, I felt like everything was a personal attack for
hard.
a couple years.
You get really excited about it. You're like, oh, I sold a 12 piece bundle, and then you're like, oh god, it all came back. Like, I was so mad, like so many levels of salty when I started. I'm like, what do you mean you bought that and it doesn't fit? Make it fit. Like, I would be so offended. And she's like, you just gotta let it go. Like, there's nothing you can do. Don't let it destroy your day. And that's unfortunately the only thing you can do. But I would recommend looking over those listings again, see if there's any measurements or anything that you can add to make sure that they're guaranteed to stick with those items. So
we've also talked about too having a copy and paste sheet. Like, if you go through a tough situation like a 12 item return, maybe whenever you deal with that tough situation, write that down as to what you did and how you should handle it next time. That way, when something like that happens again, you can go to your sheet and go, okay, how do I handle this situation? And it just makes it a lot less painful.
Yeah.
Because you just know what to do, you know the steps to take, or you already have typed out your response to the buyer. That's been tremendous with our team.
That's it. Also, we pulled my phone up. I'm not just like texting randomly, but
I didn't charge it for Kayla.
Our tablet died, so we were like, we can't see questions. But you guys are so welcome for answering your questions. We will be back on Friday to hopefully answer some more for you. And definitely do your thought process. See if there's anything that you guys have more additional questions on, and we'd be glad to do our best to help you guys on Friday.
Also, if you're watching this later, again, if you missed it, let us know down in the comments below if a ton of people are telling us that, hey, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on one of those days would be better, we'd be more than happy to switch one of those days to an afternoon. So just let us know. But other than that, we are going to go sourcing, and we hope you guys have a great day.
Don't forget your thumbs up.
Give us some likes. Make it a better Monday.
Yeah. See you guys.